You should see it pull up in the on the
I
page in a
do.
second, whenever it does. Or you should see it pull up in the on the
I
page in a
do.
second, whenever it does.
All right.
Should be up there. I'm checking to make sure. Wait till we get some people to
All right.
kind of join here. All righty, here we go. All right, I got it pulled up now and make sure we can see the comments. Then we'll get right into it here. All righty. All right. Well, I one second. Let me make sure it's there. We go. All right. So I appreciate you joining me and everybody else here tonight. I know you're mainly on Twitter, but I wanted to kind of bring you into the Facebook realm, so to speak, because I think you do a lot of great work. You do a lot of political activism, and I feel like you could just bring some good information to everyone here on Facebook. So I was just hoping maybe you can explain what you do, who you are, so everybody kind of knows your background, and then we kind of go from there if you like.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because a lot of people, it's whenever you're on Twitter, you're kind of known for a handle. So a lot of people know me as like Cam VTV. That's what they know me as, but I'm Kambree. I actually live in Dallas. I just moved back from Los Angeles. We've been there for 6 years, but I've originally been working with the 2016, worked with the Trump campaign in California on the ground, and then in radio and media from that point on. So basically, for the last 4 years, let's say almost 5 years, I've been working to trigger liberals. Speaking at events and really doing a lot of grassroots activism. That's what I really love to do. I love giving people the voice of what's going on the ground because, like in politics, especially now in this day and age, you hear from the same people on television. But the one thing you've never, ever, ever hear from is people that are on the ground.
Yeah.
Your talking points. So currently being in Texas now, I'm working with the guys with the We Are the Rally, the drag the interstate with the Trump flags and the cars. And then in a few weeks, I'm going to be going to the Trump Doral Resort in Miami, and everyone's invited to come to a big AMP Fest 2020 that we're doing. So right now, I'm doing a lot of marketing messaging. I do indigenous stories for the Daily Caller. But mostly, my favorite thing to do, honestly, is just talk to people and get the feel of what's going on in the ground because I do have my phone does ring and I do get phone calls of them saying, what's the word on the ground? What's happening on the ground? What are people saying? What's the feedback that you are getting? Rather than turning on Fox News and hearing someone say a one liner that we probably all have memorized. I'm more of like a political junkie media person, but activism is one of the favorite things that I can do is really stand up for the people, not the politicians. I mean, I love them, but I will fight them as hard as I do fight the liberals. And so I guess I say I'm a constitutionalist, patriot. I don't know.
No,
Everything.
that's a
I
good
think
thing.
everyone can identify to that.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a good thing. I mean, I'm a constitutional as well. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the good old fallback. I mean, it's what what people have died for, what we stand for, what we take oaths to. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all we have, and that's great for you to stand by that. I mean, anybody should, So, well, with that being said, I think it's very important, like you said, being on the ground. Kind of have the pulse on what's going on because if you look at the polls and things like that, it's like you see Biden winning in a landslide, which I haven't personally seen any Biden signs or anything. I see Trump signs, but I just don't really see that much support there. So I just don't understand where this polling is coming from. But
Well, I have to say this. I've seen a few in Dallas. I've seen a few of the Biden bumper stickers and stuff like that. Some people here are just a little bit more nervous to put all the Trump stuff out because they're afraid it's going to get destroyed. In California, no, everyone will put stuff out everywhere. This almost takes me back a little bit to 2016 when the polls started coming out and Hillary Clinton was ahead, 92%. And we started seeing those polls. Now, I will have to say, with the Democrats this year, their insurance policy is going to be the mail-in ballots. When we look at some of the polling, and I'm not going to lie, I could say, you know what, this is just like 2016. This is what's going to happen, but I'm not like that. I'm not. We have to be realistic. You have to understand what's going on, and you have to be prepared. People have to know that are the polls close? Yes. Are they closer than what we want them to be? Some, yes. Are they getting tighter? Yes. It's forcing the media to actually start to say that the polls are getting a little bit closer. Because right now, the media is doing the work on the Biden campaign. They keeping Joe Biden hidden, we make fun of it because clearly there's something going on. I'm uncomfortable with how they're treating him because we definitely can see that there is some sort of decline going on. But keeping him hidden, is it working? Yes, it is working. The biggest thing that we're seeing in the polls now, are they going to inflate them when it comes to a Fox News poll? Plus 10 Democrats, yeah. But what we are seeing is when it comes to people voting, are they voting for Joe Biden? No, some people are specifically voting against the president. Do I believe that we are going to win this election? Yes. Do I believe that we have to fight the mail-in fraud that is actually started today? If you really want to know when all of this stuff with the elections, and the fraud that they're going to attempted fraud that's about to take place that I believe is going to take place. It started today and has happened in Pennsylvania. And that's when the judge basically stated that things on the ballot don't have to match up. The signatures don't have to match up with the names. People can wait 3 days for the ballot to be actually counted. So they're basically saying there was like 4 different things today that the Supreme Court said. Has it started? Yes. Is it time for the states to start fighting back when this happens? Because the courts cannot legislate. Courts cannot legislate. Now, if Pennsylvania House and Senate, the House, the state does nothing, this will fly. But right now, the courts are going to legislate as long as we allow them to do that.
Yeah.
And it's tighter than what people want to admit. But I believe personally we're going to win. We have not lost in 4 years. Why is God going to hand this country over to the Democrat Party after 4 years?
And I mean, you bring up a good point. Just and it's odd to me that is the same thing that happened here in North Carolina. The Board of Elections just said that the signatures don't have to be exact, or that it's not as big of an issue. So it's odd to me that why Pennsylvania, why North Carolina, these must-win states, why is it all that? I don't hear about that in Texas. I mean, it could be going on, but I haven't heard of that. I just see it happening in these critical areas. If maybe you can elaborate if you know more on
why
that.
they're going for swing states. They have to go to the states that they know that they can win. Pennsylvania's in play. North Carolina's in play. They say Florida's in play, but I'm not really sure Florida's as much in play as they say. But is it tight? Yes. But they want the swing states. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can actually look at the electoral map. You can take Arizona out, put Pennsylvania in, take Pennsylvania out, put Arizona back in. Let's put New York into play. All these different ways that we need the electoral college. I believe we can win, but they are going to go to the states that we definitely know that Trump has a great chance of winning. He's going after Pennsylvania and he's going after North Carolina, and he wants those. And as long as the Democrats can get away with doing what they're doing, then they believe that if they stuff the ballot box, their insurance policy is going to be probably is going to be the mail-in voting, not the absentee voting, the mail-in voting. There's a big difference that people don't confuse the two.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right on that too. And it's just it's kind of like you see it, and it's if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right? Why is it in all these swing states this is going on? And then also, well, let me back up. a decision that just came out on Tuesday here in North Carolina. We now have voter ID that got overturned in the Court of Appeals. So we added an amendment back in 2018, I believe, where basically you had to have voter ID when you go vote. You have to show your ID. Overwhelming support, right? Like passed, no question, by cross-party lines, because it's common sense. But when that happened, you had them attack it in the courts, and here you go. You have these Superior Court judges that ruled it as unconstitutional. Then it goes up to a Court of Appeals. No, it's constitutional. So
what we have now, what is really sad, is we have judges that are acting and they're legislating from the bench, and that's not what their role is to do. Their role is not to legislate from the bench. And I mean, I don't care if they're a conservative judge or a liberal judge, if they are just supposed to follow the law. But it's gotten to the point where I truly believe that people are not held accountable. And if they're not going to be held accountable, then they're going to continue legislating from the bench. If the state's not going to hold them accountable, then they're going to continue legislating from the bench. And that's exactly what they want to happen, especially if the Democrats get into office and Joe Biden is in the Oval Office. They are going to stack the Supreme Court. They're going to legislate from the bench. You're not going to need Senate and you're not going to need Congress. And then everything is going to be absolutely out of control. Sadly, this election come November could be decided out of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, he's already developing a legal team, I'm sure, as you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he already has a legal team already how to attack that, and I'm sure he will.
Right.
It's unfortunate. I just hope that it's such a landslide that they learned. Well, they probably won't, but I hope that they do understand that the people are sick of it and they need to change their ways, because people want law and order. People want what's right. I think a majority here, the silent majority at least, we don't like seeing legislating from the bench. We don't like seeing these protests. We just want law and order and things returned to how they were. And you know, it's just sad.
Right now is it's absolutely out of control. I mean, when I really saw how uncontrolled liberal states were, like I said, it's like I moved from Texas to California. I could not believe it. I could not believe the lawlessness in that state. And today's Constitution, Constitution Day, something like that. And I'm like, no, the Constitution is what the Democrats say it is. And that's how law and order is, because that's what's happening in these liberal states, is that they're they're softening it. And people really do want it. They want law and order. My friend owns a restaurant in California, and in California, you are allowed to steal up to $950, and that's considered a misdemeanor. If you go, and they're trying to pass this in Dallas for $750. If you go to CVS in California and you steal $950, you can walk out there and they won't even touch you. It's not worth it. The cops are going to do absolutely nothing. But that's how it starts. That's how the chaos and out of control, that is exactly how it starts. But that's what the left wants. They want chaos. They want people frustrated. They want people living in fear. What they've been doing for the last 4 years is they've been poking the belly of every single person that is not liberal or not Democrat. They've been poking everyone in the stomach, trying to get them to make a big move. And that really does make me nervous, but thank the Lord, we do have some restraint. But at this point, they do want chaos. They do not want law and order. They don't want it because they need that platform to overwhelm the American people to say enough of Donald Trump. If we can get this guy out of the office and you just vote him out to stop what is going on, then the destruction has worked. That's their goal. They want to overwhelm every single one of you watching. This is a game to them. But they want power. They will do anything for power. They will shoot you. They will burn it down. They said it themselves in 2017 after the inauguration. Loretta Lynch said it herself. There may have to be blood on the streets. Nancy Pelosi said, we are going to resist the Republicans at every turn. And what have we seen for 4 years? Fight, fight, fight. I said World War III was going to happen after President Trump got elected, and it has. When he wins in November, you haven't seen nothing yet. But I'm telling you, they're not joking. When they say that we're going to resist at all costs, believe them. Believe every word they say.
Oh, you know, I mean, you see it, and I think they're just hoping that people are going to be like, you know what, just it ain't worth it. I'm tired of people getting harassed on the street just because you're wearing a Trump hat. You're tired of being, you have these woke people that'll throw you or like expose you, so to speak, on the news or social media to try and act like call you racist or call you this, that, and the other to try and defame you, lose your job, your livelihood. To me, how are you ever going to be able to come together, work together when you're destroying somebody's career and their livelihood? You're never going to be able to come together after that. So,
Well, I mean, sadly, this is the problem that we face right now. The problem that we face right now is who runs social media. It's a very liberal platform. Who is at the head of all of television, Fox News, MSNBC. I don't care what anyone says. Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, all of them, liberal media. Print, who are the biggest prints that are out there? Liberal media. If they don't like what you say, even on this platform, what are they going to do? They're absolutely going to silence you. Now, the president can make some really big steps after the election, but I'll tell you one thing, unless the right, and I'm meaning the Republicans in office, start fighting back, and they fight fire the way the Democrats start fighting fire. I learned that in California. If you are going to be in politics, even in grassroots, you better learn how to fight fire just like the liberals do. That's why in 2016 they thought, holy crap, where did the silent majority come from? Okay, these people are crazy. Yeah, we had 4,000 people in Newport Beach with flags. Why? Because we were the silent majority. We were the rowdiest type of crowd. But we have to have politicians that fight back. And not only that, it starts one place. There is one place they said in 2012 that they were going to infiltrate and they were going to show up and they were going to flip towns because number one, people do not show up to vote for the mayor.
yep.
And they know that.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what you don't run on as a mayor? Party platform. Are you a Republican or Democrat? They don't have to identify themselves. San Antonio, liberal. Dallas, liberal. El Paso, liberal. You know why? And their exact words were, we're going to keep your focus up here because you're focusing on Trump, you're focused on Ted Cruz, you're focused on Jim Jordan, while we're down here sliding in a liberal mayor. Who makes all the decisions in Portland? Who makes all the decisions in Seattle? Who's telling Antifa they can burn everything down? The flipping mayors. The mayors are. There you have it right there. Not the senators, the mayors. The mayors make the decisions.
And you oh my God, you just made the greatest thing. I've been ranting about this for a while now. Local elections matter. It affects you far more than the federal government does at
Right.
this point in time. And if you look at it, like here, you wouldn't know this area, but here in Holly Springs, we just they had the election, they got new board members. And like you said, it's not really partisan, so to speak. Well, guess what? They just started restricting gun rights in that city. He never talked about this when he was campaigning. It's just all of a sudden, and all the other board members agreed now that they have the majority.
See, and then that really is the thing. And they will get some softball questions and they're going to be direct. People have to show up to City Hall. I mean, it's really some like the mayor type of stuff. It's kind of boring. I'm not going to lie. But now everyone sees the importance of it, the importance of a mayor, because the mayors sometimes even collaborate with the media. I know we've been talking about this earlier of what happened in California with Antifa. We had them show up with the media and they can kick me off every social. I have it on film of my job. I mean, we have undercover video that have circulated through all different platforms, people at networks, people in the parties that say, hey, you know what, we've hired people to go in and do this. We had the media show up specifically at one of our events. They weren't there the whole time. Here they come, Antifa comes in, here comes the media in, because they got to get that fight on film. And I tell you, I watched the news that night, and what did they show? They didn't show all of us peacefully walking down Newport Beach with our flags. The one thing they made sure is they sent in Antifa in. Scuffles started going down, and that's the one thing that they ran. Then, like you said, they labeled us a racist, and we were dangerous. We shouldn't have been out there. I mean, it's like a trickle effect, and I don't think it should happen on both sides. It should happen on both sides because I mean, even though we have Black Lives Matter, and then I've met some people in California, Black Lives Matter, that have a completely different view of what they have recently come out and said that they stand for now, with the whole Marxism and stuff like that. So I can't blame everybody and give every single person a label on both sides, but this is definitely the tactical work of media. Media plays a major role here. That's why we're so vital and important on social media, to be able to get out and start speaking out about stuff like this, because a lot of this is planned the day before and executed the day after.
Yeah,
So
and you know,
is
right here, like you wouldn't know this, but WREL, you know, okay, so a lady
yes,
received a letter in the mail from a neighbor, no signature, and it said something that and I'm not saying it didn't happen. Okay, it could have totally happened, but it just seems kind of odd to me because I just don't really, I don't know. But she received a letter, anonymous, from a neighbor that was basically saying, you know, talking to, I guess, because she had a BLM sign in her yard, and they were kind of saying some
right.
racial comments to her. And they were talking about her family, because I guess her family is, you know, I think, believe her husband is Black and her children are mixed or whatever, which, you know, hey, but they were basically saying, like, you know, we didn't move here to have you basically ruining our neighborhood, so to speak. And in 2020, and in that area, it just seemed kind of odd to me. I would think that if somebody was going to send something like that, it just seemed very odd to me. And did it happen? Maybe. But here's the thing: WREL ran with it,
Yeah.
and they changed the name of the neighborhood. The neighborhood was different. It was Wakefield Estates, but the WRL changed it to Wakefield Plantation. Okay, which is the neighboring neighborhood, but they called it that because it had a lot more appeal, if you know what I mean. And they used that to put, and
This is why, just like literally now, could someone send a letter like that? Yeah,
yeah,
I can believe it. Have we seen probably 15 to 20 hoaxes over the past 4 years to make a headlines? Absolutely. Do I know people that have done hoaxes before that has made headlines in 2016? Yes, I do. I do. Do we know what to believe? Not necessarily. You have to have a 20 for now. Changing the name is just absolutely ridiculous. This whole social justice warrior movement is just dumb. I don't get that. I just don't get that whatsoever. But at this point, everybody is taking everything to an extreme level. There's no such thing anymore as rational thought.
yeah,
No such
and
thing as
common sense.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there is no such thing. That's why when I say that is because can letters like this happen? Yeah, it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Can people fake things? Yes. Everyone can do that. Changing something like that it's just it's for news. I don't know if it's supposed to make people feel better. Nowadays, people are scared to not do something because then they may get reprimanded for it. I don't really necessarily know why people. It could be pressure from the city. There's always an agenda to something. If they were, I mean, I've learned this because I'll tell you, politics is not pretty; it's dirty.
Mhm.
I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. I've seen it. It's both sides of the aisle. If they were told you do this, that's when I would start looking into, all right, who's asking them to do this? How much donation money are they getting to their campaign? I mean, really, I mean, now day and age, you have to literally question everything. I do. I question everything. And sometimes on both sides, I have to question everything. But there are just some things that are so out there that you don't even have to question anymore because you're just like, this is just absolutely freaking insane.
Yeah,
It's
and
not.
like you said, you know, it kind of hurts because let's say if the letter was legit, it kind of makes the whole issue kind of look kind of fraudulent when you change the name. You went to that neighborhood to interview the person. You know that that's not that neighborhood. Okay, you were at their house. All right, and then you receive a letter from that neighborhood from Wakefield Plantation. They're like, "Hey, this wasn't us. We didn't. Why are you bringing our name up?" And then it took them a while to remove it and change it.
The best thing people can do at this point in day and age. I mean, I hate this because this is not everyone has a phone. Most people have a Ring doorbell. Some people have cameras. It's sad. There is no more, innocent until proven guilty. Now it is, if we're going to accuse you of something, you're automatically guilty of doing it. That's why typically, even when these shootings happen with the police, Dan Bongino told me the greatest thing once. He said, Cam, there's a 24 to 48 hour rule to wait 24 to 48 hours and then really make your decision based upon what happens. Because in the beginning, if media sees something that they can jump on, which is totally political, that has to do with smearing the other party, they're going to jump on it, whether it is factual or not. And even conservative media does that too. Now it's the point is like, you're going to pounce on me, fine. I'm going to knock you out the first punch, and then everybody else do the same thing. I mean, that's kind of like how it is. It's just like it's like a battle now. But 24 to 48 hours is what people have to. But if you see something that comes out, makes the news, and then immediately they start changing names like that, come on. It's just like the Jussie Smollett hoax. The Jussie Smollett hoax came out, that MAGA country in Chicago. And then I kid you not, 24 hours later, we had Kamala. I say her name wrong. I don't care. Kamala Harris. And we had everybody else talking about a lynching law. Okay. That lets you know right there, this was set up because they need this law to go into effect within 24 hours. You don't come up with that within 24 hours. And that is not the first time that they've done that. So those are the little nuggets you have to look, because sometimes the media tries to do it right, but they do it wrong. And you have to follow the pattern because they do it the same way every single time. That's what's happening in this election. We're in the same flipping pattern, same talking points.
Yeah,
Another talking point came out today, and I'm like, well, when was this going to come out? They're laughing. They're like, they came out with it today. Another accusation against the president. I'm joking. Months ago going, well, we haven't come to the assault stuff yet. Well, look what happened today. It came out. We are recycling talking points over and over and over. Same song, second verse.
Yeah, and that's what I think there was an accusation about. He said something against the military, and I believe that was like from 2 years ago or something.
You know why?
And now all of a sudden it comes out.
This is where you have to understand when it comes into media. And I can say this because we have shifted the narrative. And everyone helps. We shift the narrative. Okay. That remember when that came out about what he said about the military? We all know the president. I've met the president multiple times. He loves the military. He's the most pro-military, pro-police person in the whole wide world. I mean, you take him out of the celebrity status and he just comes down to being human being. Sometimes he says things off the cuff and I'm like, what the heck did you just say that for? Are you kidding me? I do that. I really do that. I'm just like, I can't believe he just said that. He's going to get roasted for it. But they had to take the focus off of Nancy Pelosi. A lot of people didn't catch that. They shifted the narrative because Nancy Pelosi was getting flipping hammered for getting her hair done in San Francisco. Since she was getting hammered, what did the media and the liberals decide to do? We need a story. Boom. What came out even a week later? Adam Schiff and another flipping whistleblower came out. Whoa, what did the Trump campaign or the White House do? They came out and said, we have the emails, fool. Busted. We got you now,
It was a very short news story. Like, it's like, everybody saw that. It's like, I'm not surprised, but I mean, you see it and it's like, that is pretty bad. And then you just see it. So just a little blip and then it moves on, like you said. And it's just sad that that's where we're at in society. And people believe, I just don't understand how people can fall for it or believe it. I just don't understand.
Well, here's the thing. I can understand it until it took me to a point where I had to kind of go do my own homework just a little bit and kind of see for myself of what's going on. And then actually getting involved in news and media. Then I really started understanding, oh, this is really how it works. If you think about it, 20 years ago, we turned on the news and they told us what was happening and we were able to think for ourselves whether it was true or not. Nowadays, they don't give us the information and then we decide if it's true or not. Now they want to create the narrative. They want to tell us how we're supposed to think, what we're supposed to think, if this is right and if this is wrong. So when you have people that are not there yet, like the silent majority, that say these guys are lying to us. They're not telling us the truth. They're telling us what to think. I grew up turning on the television, being told the news. I wasn't told what to think. But they've taken the news and they put it into, I call the media, even the liberal media, they're basically the public relations arms for the Democrat Party. That's what they are.
No, I mean, and two, it's not really new. It's just opinion. If you look at it, you have the talking heads up there. It's just
You know,
opinion.
this is what's sad now. It's like the news is who tweets what.
Yeah.
Like I see my tweets on Fox sometimes. I'm laughing. I'm just like, there's my tweets are up there. But if you look at what the news cycle is based upon, it is not based upon, promises made, promises kept website. It's not based upon the Trump, the news coming out of, the Trump app. It's based upon the president said this, a whistleblower said this is happening here, Kamala Harris wore Timberland boots and she rocked them, but I can't believe that, First Lady did this. I mean, it's literally based on, it is tabloid politics.
Yeah, absolutely right. And and hopefully, I just hope that people understand this is a pivotal point that we're at. And we can go either one way or the other, in my opinion. And two is so important because Trump may have the potential to get 2 more Supreme Court picks. And that is if any reason at all you vote for him, that is the most important thing that we could do at this point in time is get those 2 conservative judges.
You're right. And he's stacking the courts. We confirmed some this week. I like to tweet those out to let people kind of know what's going on, because no one's going to know what's going on unless us. People like us are the ones that are letting people into, hey, cloakroom, here we go. Mitch McConnell's working right now. But I have a lot of friends that don't care for the president's personality. My daughter, for once. I have a little liberal that lives with me. I'm raised her in California. She's a little more liberal than what I am. She doesn't like his temperament, doesn't like the snarky one-liner, does not like that. Me, I'm like, finally, we have someone that's going to punch you in the flipping face. Mm-hmm. I kind of like that. Now, like I said, I cringe sometimes, but there are people, but you really have to just sit back and remove all of that and say, at the end of the day, has this man done exactly what he said? Now, I told him something in 2016 when I met him. I don't know if everyone remembers that's watching. He held up a piece of paper and said, this is my pledge to the American people. My first 100 days, I'm going to get this done. And he had everything listed out. I printed that sucker out and I flipping signed it. And every time he did that, I crossed one off. So when I was in Orange County and he came into town, I was like, you keep your promise and you keep your pledge. If not, I'm going to hold you accountable. And that's exactly what he's done. Take the media, take the news out. But if he did not do what he's the first president in history that has said, I am going to do this and I am accomplished it, and he has broken records, people know he's doing something that is right. It's just the problem is some people don't like the style. Move the style away, push it to the sides. But look what the other option that we have.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I mean, what do you want? Somebody that obviously has some skeletons and also may not be fit. You rather have that just because they hide him away or he kind of sticks to his talking points. You rather have that than somebody that, hey, he says stuff off the cuff, but at least you know where he stands. I mean, you may not agree with what he says.
I mean, this is I could go into a training here of how to talk to people. I've done this before. The one thing when I talk to people about politics, the best thing to do is not to say Trump's name. It really is.
No, you're right. I mean, it's unfortunate.
That's how I did in California. Man, our taxes are getting better. Our economy is getting great. I mean, I could go on and list all the things. Look what's happening here. They're raising our taxes in California. Now they want to limit how much water we can use a day to wash our dishes, take a bath, 50 gallons a day. They just gave Nestle a $3 billion deal when we can't even water our flipping yard. We've got homeless people on the street. They're giving these people, everyone agrees what the left is doing is wrong. Everyone agrees that the economy is getting better. Our taxes are getting great. But sometimes I just cannot say the name. Because why? It triggers people.
Yeah, just something about it. I don't get it.
But it works. But that's what you have to do, even with family members and friends. They know that this president does a really good job. He's not a racist. He employs more minorities than every single House senator, everyone in Congress put together. He employs more minorities around the world than everyone that's in government right now. People know he's not. They just know he's going to buck the system, and he is for the people. He is not for the establishment. He's not. Does he know how to work the elite? Yes. He's been in the game for 40 flipping years. He knows both sides of the aisle very, very well.
Yes. You bring a great point. And it's just unfortunate that we have people that'll silence you, or you can't even talk about it anymore, like just regular people, because they're going to lose their minds on you and attack you or whatever. But and another thing too, I wanted to, because I know you have limited time, but since you were in California, Texas, and all, how is the law enforcement? Because you have Antifa, you have all these other things. How is the cities? Are they working with the police there, or is it certain parts of California? I would assume certain parts are different than others of California, but
Yeah, there's different. I mean, if you kind of starting with California first, if you look at California and you kind of like put a line to see the Republicans and the Democrats were very, very, very split. You wouldn't believe how many Republicans are in California. So much. In the red cities, which I actually lived in a red city, we didn't have the looting and the rioting and the burning. That was Los Angeles. Los Angeles, they will stack 10 million, 12 million, 14 people in a city. So you get all of the politicians are representing them. So it doesn't matter how many you have over here, they're stacking all the big cities with all the people. So that means they have more representation. In the liberal cities, you're going to get less law and order. Totally less law and order.
That's how, like, if you look at North Carolina right now, it's like you see Wake County and Charlotte, which are the bigger cities, Raleigh and all that. It's completely controlled by Democrats.
Well,
and
here's
same thing in Mecklenburg now.
Texas is in trouble. I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
Austin got a liberal mayor. They've gone there now, starting to defund the police. The city of Austin is homeless people on the streets, drugs on the streets, poverty is rising in Austin. Dallas, I didn't grow up in a liberal city. I mean, I knew liberal. Well, I don't even want to say liberal city, because now there is no more moderate liberals. Sadly, there is. My friends that are Democrats don't act like progressives. So there's moderate Democrats and there's the progressives. Dallas was not blue growing up. Dallas is blue now. That's when the poverty. Then they hired a police chief from Detroit. Go figure, guess what happened there? Law and order started going acts right out the window. Crime started skyrocketing, all of that, which our police chief, El Paso. I mean, you look at Houston, like another little Los Angeles 2.0. I mean, you've got all of these people, and they're pushing people and moving people into Texas. They're getting mayors and they're flipping mayors in the towns. The county I'm in right now is the second largest county in Texas, and we only stayed red by 11,000 votes. They want my county. I have the Dallas Cowboys in my backyard, Texas Rangers in my backyard. I've got everybody moving to Frisco, Texas. Watch, tell where I am. I'm in Frisco, Texas. Everybody's moving here. They're flipping my city. Second city, my county goes red. Texas is about to go blue, y'all. I mean, my county goes blue. Texas is about to flip blue.
Isn't most people moving from California? Because I've seen a lot of videos where they're kind of poking at that and making fun of that.
Some are moving to Austin, like Joe Rogan's moving to Austin. Blair White's moving to Austin. Like a lot of people are moving to Austin. But some people are moving here and they're voting blue. But also you have the Democrats. They joke all the time. Nancy Pelosi and them just a few weeks ago, they raised in one day from Hollywood money and San Francisco money, one day what the Democrats typically raise in a month here. And they're doing that in your state too.
Oh, no, I know.
And they're working on Florida. They want to flip this stuff like everywhere. That's their goal. I tell y'all, it's the mayors. You have to know who's running for mayor.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, and even on the, like with us, our governor is a Democrat. He is legit received money from George Soros. I know people act like he's the boogeyman, but for real, he got $250,000 or something like that from him personally. So,
and I'm like, hey, y'all want to be Democrat? Fine. But don't come here and try to raise my taxes. Don't come here and try to defund our police. You can have your beliefs. I will not tell you what you can and you cannot believe. I am so gung-ho. You can have that, but don't try to come in and destroy it. It's okay if you want bigger government. It's okay if you're like, you know what? We do need to do some immigration reform, because I am a little bit more liberal on that one, but we do need immigration reform. I understand that there are things that are beyond our control, that have gotten out of control, that we need to fix. but don't come in and try to turn a state absolutely upside down and then force your agenda and your beliefs down my throat, because I don't force mine down yours. I don't.
You make and see our problem in the reason. So that's what's happening in Texas. In North Carolina, a
Right.
majority of the people that move here are from up north. Like you have people that retire from New York and New Jersey.
I have my neighbors here. Like my neighbor here's from my old town in California, because I have California license plate still because shut down. And then my other neighbors are New York. I actually have a North Carolina. I have a Pennsylvania, an Illinois, and I have an Ohio. All just in my neighborhood here. It's funny because I can spot the New York plates everywhere, and then I see the California ones everywhere here. But yeah, they're coming all down south. But hopefully, that they see what's going on. And sadly, the more out of control the left is, the more it's going to help us to say, you know what, this has got to stop. I do believe the president will stop it when he gets in office. He's probably going to have to use some mad force. And at this point, it's going to have to happen, because I don't think we've seen the worst of it yet.
That's scary. That's very scary because it's already bad now. So
we have not seen the worst of it. Now, I'm not saying that to scare people. I'm saying it to make people aware.
oh yeah, if you look here, just in North Carolina, gun sales are up, or I think it is nationwide. It's like up 300%. So people are obviously concerned. You don't just go buy all the, like, first time gun owners are buying because they are scared to death.
Right. And the only other thing I have to just say, to since people are actually watching, if there's like a protest happening in your town, don't just show up with the gun just because you want to show up with the gun and be like, I want to protect my city. If you're on private property, do it the legal way. Just do it the legal way. Don't try to start a problem. Because it got to that point where my friends in California started to show up to try to bring to cause some sort of friction, and then it made the news. Now, protect your home. Someone asked you to protect their business, protect their business. But there's just no need for all of us to go storming the streets with our guns because we know there's protests. Let the police do their job. And then the second they step foot onto your property or to your business, then you have every God-given right to be able to protect your assets. And then you are then basically protected by law. But the second you step out on there, don't give the left the reason to call us any names that they're already calling us, because they're doing a damn good job destroying their own identity and destroying their own party. And if anybody's going to lose this election in 2016, the Democrats are going to lose it themselves. It's not going to be because of the president. It's because of them.
You are once again 100% correct. And that's why I wanted you on here, because everything you said, I think our ideas kind of, mesh a little bit. We both.
No, you see what I see. Are people agreeing? Because I can't see what people are saying.
Oh, so yeah, we have people commenting. I kind of see there's some questions in here.
Yeah, no, I mean, people, here's the thing. People see what you and I see. And this is what I love about these type of broadcasts, is because it's not like, all right, guys, this is what happened in Senate and Capitol Hill today. And this is what Breitbart said. No, we see these freaking crazies out on the streets. I mean, this is reality. I like talking reality, not a scripted, you know what I mean?
Yeah, here. So if anybody listening, if you have any questions, we'll do that. Most of the people right now, Kambree, are just saying like, I agree, or, they're just kind of.
Plus, Trump is live.
Do what?
He's live. Trump had a rally tonight in Wisconsin, so he's like live. But no, I mean, people get it and people see, and they're finally people understand what we see. And
somebody just said that they're recording Trump to be able to watch this, so that kind of.
That's so sweet. Yeah, I haven't watched him. Of course, they're not showing him on. I don't know if Hannity's on or whatever. I typically only turn on the news at nighttime to watch Tucker, and then Sean Hannity, unless I listen to him to radio. Other than that, I strictly will stick to Greg Jarrett's, Sarah Carter. I go with the grassroots investigative journalist type that's going to give you the nuts and bolts, not the raw type of stuff on that, because whether you like Fox News or not, they're still owned by a very, very, very liberal company, and it is slowly changing from the inside. So I just like my news from legitimate sources that have not been wrong.
So what I'll do is, and I agree, by the way, I watch that pretty regularly. Those three, it's the Ingram Angle, Tucker, and but And then, all right, so somebody said, when when mayors tell the police to stand down, what do you do?
The
From
mayors call the shots with the police,
what'd you
100%.
say? What'd you say?
Yeah, they do. The mayors call the shots with the police. They will tell them whether they can stand down or not. And we have been told that to our face. In Newport Beach, and I'm sorry I'm going back to California so much because I've only been here less than a year. And then when we moved here, everything's shut down. So going back home, everything's shut down. But the Newport Beach police were the ones that told us that the mayor is the one that tells them whether they can give pushback or they cannot. Long Beach, we had the police tell us that the mayor told us that the mayor would not stop Antifa from happening, from attacking us, and they did. I mean, I have it on my periscopes and stuff. They'd come after the phones. They broke my phone. They would attack and stuff like that. But typically in like the Orange County areas, they did. But it's all up to the mayor. Look at Portland. She had the ability to stop everything like that. She had the ability to tell the police officers to get in there. They had the ability to call in the federal government to come in and remove these people. And we have chiefs of police telling them, nope, the mayor's telling us to stand down and not to do anything.
Yeah, and I believe Portland, the chief resigned,
No,
was kind of like, I'm done with
the
this.
guy in Portland. Now, no, but there's another one. There's an Antifa person running against the mayor, actually of Seattle, I believe. An
Oh no,
Antifa,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
and,
mean,
and
we
she,
had we had that kind of here. They were doing that at the Raleigh City Council. He unfortunately resigned. Well, not unfortunately, but he resigned.
yeah.
That was his agenda, was defund, remove. He was trying to put in all these programs in place of police. He wanted to completely remove them.
Yeah, no. I mean, they have y'all, they have more power than what you can understand. I tell people when you're going into this next election, there's another thing you got to look at. That's who your flipping governor is. Your governor is just as important as the president of the United States. I mean, and politics is exhausting. Part of me is just like, I cannot wait for this election to get over. Then I'm like, oh Lord, it starts all back over again.
Yeah,
It's
and
all back up. Now we got to look at 2022. We got to look at who we're going to win. Are we going to flip? Is the Senate going to stay? Is the Senate going to be tight? Are we going to flip some seats? We know we're going to lose some Senate seats. I mean, we already know that we may lose some Senate seats. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight, tight, tight. We need a major overhaul of people losing seats. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. Not sure.
I, I hope not, because the Senate's very important as well, as you know, because
We
a
need
lot of
to
this
the
stuff, they
Senate.
approve what the president picks, like the judges and things like that.
Well, we need that. I mean, if you look at it, we have some Collins, she's down in the polls, but she's a swing person. Then we have Murkowski, she's a swing Republican. We have 3 or 4 swing, Mitt Romney, another swing Republican. Okay, those people make it or break it on Trump's agenda. We need more than that.
Yes.
We need like 10. We need to flip 10 seats. Is that going to happen? Nope. We possibly will lose Martha McSally's seat in Arizona. So that's another Senate seat we're going to go down, which means we're going to need more possible Democrats to vote with Republicans to be able to push stuff through. That's why President Trump is like, executive order, I can do this. Executive order, I can do this. So yeah, there's a lot riding on the line here, and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything and try to make everyone feel like, oh, this is going to be easy. No, it's not going to be easy. We're in the fight of our lives going up into November.
Absolutely. And, I think, like you said, it's very important that we have social media. We're out there spreading the message, putting out the truth. Make sure you are informed. Make sure you know who these judges are. Make sure you're voting for these judges all the way down the ballot. You need to know everybody, because it is so important on the local level, state level. This is just, it needs to stop. It needs to change.
It is, because I still don't even know everyone here. I mean, I actually met up with the local GOP people, and I was just like, hey, who are these people? Because I don't know who everyone is here since I just moved here, but it is very, very important that you know who your mayor is, who's running for different offices, and look at their page, go to their Facebook and social media. And then once you have everything written down, and most people will find a list of who to endorse. The GOP typically has endorsement lists, then give it to your family. I gave it to my mom when I was in Cali. I was like, here's the list, all these people, you need to go vote for them, because it can get kind of overwhelming.
Yes.
It can get really, really overwhelming.
Yeah,
But
because most people work, they have a family, I get it. I mean, we're not out there protesting as much because we all have jobs. But at the same
yeah,
time,
it's one thing you have to do. Um,
yeah.
Y'all see all the cars that are going out there with the Trump flags and the American flags. Host one and go. You have to go to MAGADragtheinterstate.com. Go there. My friends run it. Keith and Kenny, they're twins. One's in Houston, one's up here with me in the Dallas area. MAGA Drag the Interstate. Have your local city, and that's what we can do right now. We have to become the rally. We have to be it. Since we can't be in arenas, we have to become it. So just get people together, put flags on your cars, and drive for an hour all over the city. That's what we have to do. If you're in a boat, like you see the boat parades, go out in a boat parade. But if not, get in your car and just drive. That's what we have to do at this day and age because we have pretty much no other option. Because if we any event that we do here, even in Dallas, last week down the Walk Away event happened, Black Lives Matter showed up, started beating the snot out of people.
Mm.
At a Walk Away campaign, that was all my friends from California that came in that were the biggest transgender in the whole wide world. My buddy that's gay that was on Big Brother. I mean, you literally had the biggest gays for Trump and Democrats for Trump, all different, the most diverse group of people here in Texas, and they got attacked.
Well, I think that it's very strategical why they do that because they need every vote that they can get. And it's sad when you have somebody being a free thinker and choosing to do what they believe is right. Or a lot of people see this far left stuff going on and they're like, I can't be a part of it anymore. I'm done. I cannot be associated with it.
People are starting to realize, and we learned this in 2016, that a lot of people are paid.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, we started calling out Craigslist ads. We had infiltrators. We had people infiltrate Antifa in California that were given, there's nurses on standby. People know where a getaway car is going to be. People know where the claw hammers, they showed up to our events with claw hammers. I know what a flipping claw hammer was. I'm showing up with like my back the blue flag, right? Like if someone comes after me, Cam's gonna just like, I'm gonna whack them. But no, they came up with claw hammers. They're strategically positioned everywhere. Some are getting $15 an hour, and then some people truly want to seek and they want to destroy everything in their path. But this is orchestrated. It's orchestrated all over the world, and we just have to be very careful and very prayerful. I have to say that.
And two, like, you see pallets of bricks just kind of miraculously be put in these strategic locations
Right.
around the city.
Right.
I don't see any more of that happening. I only see it when the rioting was going on.
Well, they were strategically placed all over Dallas because these, young whippersnappers that are 17 years old were like, hey, this is over here. They filmed it in downtown Dallas. But now we just can pretty much kind of know. Like I said, the 24 to 48 hour rule, you've got to know and you've got to wait for the videos to be released before you can really know what's going on. But everyone's on such an alert right now because we have, and this is what's so sad with law enforcement is there are, because it kind of goes both ways because we do have a friend's son that was killed here and he shouldn't have been. So I can say, probably you can say, we have good and we have bad on all of it, but one thing I did learn from that is we do have attorneys that chase murders. We do have attorneys that chase videos specifically to go after the police. Their intentions are not to represent the family. Their intentions are to make a lot of money, and they do chase deaths, any sort of police brutality, and a lot of police brutality
the one
videos
attorney,
where that's what we're seeing. And I mean, and I know one of them. I follow one of them just because we had a commonality with what happened here in North Dallas, which is different than a police and different than other stuff that's going on. But they're showing up at all of these events, and then the media they're working directly with the media. That's what you have to realize. Once they get their hands on this case, they have contacts inside the media. Next thing you know is you see CNN pushing it, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, boom, another shooting. What happened? 24 to 48 hours, the video comes out, the fool had a weapon. Or he just got done raping a chick and now he's on the NFL players' heads. But they're rioting and they're looting and they're burning down cities because they didn't wait 24 to 48 hours, because we have these attorneys that are just peddling these stories left and right, because that's part of the agenda. That's to keep the chaos. That's to keep this going, because that is also part of the liberal platform. Sadly, that's their agenda.
Well, and the sad thing is it's always white police officer shoots unarmed black person, and
typically always in liberal cities.
Yeah, and exactly. And two, if you look at the statistics of how many people of color are killed by police annually, you notice that it's been very quiet for the past couple of years up until this point. It's odd that during 2016, this was a big factor, and now 2020, this is a big factor. There wasn't any rioting going on in between 2017, 2019. It's just now.
Well, a lot started in the Obama administration. That was part of a talking point. I hate this, because I'm sitting here, if you really just sit back, I said, what's lost? Rational thought. If you sit back as a rational human being and take politics aside and think, I have to keep the chaos going for an agenda. No, seriously, we live in a society where we have to keep the drama. There always has to be a victim. We live in a victim society, and that is media's number one role. That is an agenda. You always have to have a victim. Both sides does it. Trump started it, build the wall, deport them all. Did we know he ain't going to be able to report 11 million people here? No. We all know that's not going to happen. But that's just the kind of world we live in now. And it's sad that we have to look for a victim or go, oh my gosh, look, see, that guy was killed, illegal, killed that one. I made my point now. I mean, sometimes I just sit back and go, we really live in this type of world today, rather than, you know what, instead of burning and looting, why aren't you building a community center?
Here's an interesting, I was going to
play football with them. Huh?
Yeah, sorry, I was going to bring this up because I was reading it. So one person's comment said, I'm a young black Republican looking at history and the track record.
Right.
The Republicans have done more for African Americans and immigrants than Democrats. And those issues are very dear to me. Trump is a straight shooter, but just wish that he knew when to not open his mouth sometimes. Like we were talking
right.
about. Yeah.
No, he's right. You should see me. You should see me. I call it rage tweeting, and I have to be cautious sometimes, because I'm like, I can't freaking believe he said that. I really do sometimes. I face plant, just like there's a time and place. Now, there's one thing that you do have to understand sometimes about what the president does, but you kind of know this when he's strategical. When he's strategical, he will say something to force a narrative. He will say something to force the media to go on the defense to prove him right. And then sometimes he's not a polished politician. He is not going to say things in a politically correct manner. That Yankee in him is just going to come out. And then sometimes he'll just come out and I'm like, he's going to get lambasted for it, and he deserves it. I mean, because I'm just like, hey, that's what he gets. He shouldn't have said that, because sometimes the media gets to him. They'll get to him, but whoever just said that, you're totally right, because sometimes he says stuff and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And I don't even participate on Twitter. I just get off social media. I'm like, I'm done, because I'm going to get roasted. Whatever I say, let it go, let it be, because in 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 24 hours, the media is going to find another tweet that he said something and they're going to take his words and twist it, or he said and then they're going to force him to come back and say, no, I really didn't mean it this way. I meant it that way. It's crazy.
That's why I started doing more live events like this, because, it's hard, because when you write something right online, certain people read it and interpret it different ways. Right. So like, I mean it this way. When somebody reads it, they think it means this, they think it means the opposite, or something completely different, or, and they get kind of caught up on it, and then they're quick, like you said, immediately type out, I hate you, you're wrong, it's not that.
The backstory of it. Some people don't know. And sometimes I don't know because this is what people typically do. When you see a news story that comes across your feed, whether you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you read the headlines. So a lot of people don't have a clue what the heck the story is about. They just read the headlines, I'm guilty. And then they make an assumption based upon the headlines of what the story is about. When typically, if you read the story, then you go through like the like WAPO New York Times. They're good at writing a lie, 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 lie. Then at their 20th paragraph, they put the truth in there. You're gonna miss it. It is.
Sprinkle some truth in there.
Yes, they will. That's a strategy. That is just a sad strategy. Now, going back to the history of what President Trump has done, what the Republican Party has done, yes, they have. But right now, we have teachers being radicalized. I got an email from my girlfriend in Oklahoma today that was just like, you're not going to believe what the education union sent out. I posted it on Twitter this morning. I mean, talk about insane. Talk about insane what they're doing. They're radicalizing and the teachers. And then we already have 7 complaints out of 7 different elementary schools where teachers are teaching that police officers are racist. Came out today. This is what's happening. You're failing your job if you're a teacher and you're coming out and giving your political views. Your job is to teach history. Our job is to learn history. And our job is to not repeat history ever. But for some reason, I don't know why politicians think that we have to erase history and then repeat history and then write new history. I just don't understand it. But they're starting to radicalize our children. I've got 18-year-olds and I've got a 14-year-old that have more of a liberal way of thinking because they did have Black Lives Matter teachers in California. So they do see things differently than I do, but I make them explain why they see it this way. And they have some valid stuff. Some of the videos they have, I can't say nothing because I'm like, honey, you're right. Yep. Because not everyone's perfect.
You're always going to have that small 1% that's going to do something. You have that with teachers, you have it with clergy. Right. So, and when it's interesting that you bring that up about that, because here in Wake County, they're doing that here. They're now teaching BLM. It's actually a part of the curriculum. They have it in there listed about white privilege. They're teaching about BLM, about who's been killed by police. And this is going all the way up from elementary to high school.
I just don't get this. I don't know. I was not raised to hate. I was raised in a very, very conservative Christian home that love has no color and we all believe the same. I don't understand that type of concept, but right now we have, I guess what they're trying to do is kind of push us more towards the socialist type of agenda style where the government has a lot of control, especially when you live in California. You're already seeing that taking place, especially with the reducing the age of interactions between a male man and a young child. Yes, they've moved the age down to consensual to like even 11 years old.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding you. It is disgusting, but we have kids right now that are home. They have been home for months from COVID, that are depressed, that are abused, that are committing suicide. And then you want to add a hate on top of that.
Yeah. It's a recipe for disasters. 11 years old,
it passed in California. It's absolutely disgusting what they've passed. And I don't even know if I should say it on here because I don't want them to kick you off. But the platform, wouldn't surprise me, but there's some sick stuff that's going on right now. And they have to start with the educational system, with the children, because that's called indoctrination. And if you notice, they're using the same thing on the television that they're using in the curriculum.
And look at Netflix, they had that show Cuties out. I was very concerned. I almost canceled my subscription, but I don't watch it enough to where it's, I just was, I don't know, I'm still on the fence about that, but.
I know. That's kind of like how it is here, but I'm just like, if I canceled everything that I wanted to boycott, I would have no cell phone. I would have, no electricity. I would have no running water because they all donate to the, even here in Texas, they all don't, they all give money, campaign money. But, I think what we just have to do is we just have to have common sense. We have to common sense it, and we have to turn the television off if you really want to think clearly. and then find the people that are just solid. And then when you see an event going on, show up. Don't be afraid to go out, and don't be dumb. Show up with your gun on your back. Here in Texas, man, they'll show up with their AK on their back. They don't care. I'm just saying, it's like, don't cause any problems. But
And I think a lot of it's just people are just fed up and they just feel like that the government or whoever is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And rightfully, I mean, in a lot of places they're not. However, that is, you got to protest by at the ballot box. You got to get these people out of there. And a lot of it is an off year elections. You got to do it every year. You got to make it known that you are going to vote them out and go to these board meetings. Like you said, it's like an echo chamber, but you need to show up and say, no, this will not stand, period. You know?
And as crazy as it sounds, if you ever thought of running for office, run. What do you have to lose? We have Antifa mayors running for office. If they can do the electric slide and get booed in Chaz and win the mayoral, did you see that video? Lord have mercy.
So that's
he was just like moving. If he can win, anybody can win, y'all. I mean, he had like no rhythm whatsoever.
They even booed him. Did you or like they were chanting "Go home, go home"? You remember that?
That white boy could not dance. But hey, I have to give it to him. He was trying. He really was. He was trying. But I mean, it's just not happening. So people like need to run for office, even in the schools. People have seats in their schools. You need to run for the school district. You need to run for all the decisions that are being made, because they had to shut down a high school here. They had a Muslim prayer room here. Christians are not allowed to pray. I mean, in my city, I'm like, Christians were not allowed to pray here, but they had a Muslim prayer room. Finally, the parents finally said enough. And they shut that down. So if you're going to do it for one, then you're going to do it for all.
Absolutely. And you have to. I mean, that what's right is right. You have to, if it was going to be for everybody, I wouldn't have a problem with it. However, if you're based, because Christianity seems like it's under attack, but if you're not going to allow that, you can't allow that. So.
That's part of the movement with Antifa and even with Black Lives Matter, is they said they want to break up the structural home. They want to break up the family home. It's right on their website, so it's not gossip. I mean, people go, well, are you sure that's not what it's for? No, that's what it's for, because they want to break up the family. It's on their website. Just because the news says Black Lives Matter or Antifa is this, no, they want to break up the family. They want to destroy capitalism. They want more people reliant on government. And that is why even in California, they want children, even at the age of 2 years old, to start going into government funded daycare. So now they're going to start educating your children too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of it too is like most people are not informed. And look, do I honestly believe that all the people that show up at BLM protests, they're there for the wrong reasons? No, I legitimately believe, and I've been to several. I'll go to talk to people and to see what what they're thinking, because I think that's important.
Absolutely is.
And so they're there because they don't agree with the violence. They don't agree with defunding police.
And I can say this because that's why I rarely talk about Black Lives Matter, because it's been hijacked. Mm-hmm. Now, the people at the top that are making the millions and millions and millions and millions and donating through anonymous gift cards to Joe Biden, we know what's happening through Act Blue. We know that's all donated, but Antifa's hijacking it.
Yes.
The peaceful protests are during the day. The Antifa hijacking it at night, because I'm like, why in the world is Black Lives Matter showing up at this event the other night and all white? You're all white people.
Yeah, that's how it is here. You had 90% of them were young Caucasian, young white people protesting, tearing down stuff, and it's like, wait a minute, I get it. Look, if your heart's in the right place, by all means, because honestly, if it was not that organization and it was just people that weren't violent, wanted change, I'd go out there with it. I have no problem.
We had 1,000 people at Black Lives Matter walk here in my town. 1,000 people, David Harris Jr. all showed up. It was the most, to me, I get goosebumps. It was so powerful. It was really so. There's a lot of things that there's so much power when people say nothing. My mom taught me that, a gentle answer turns away wrath. And I believe that. So seeing 1,000 people just walk quietly made so much of an impact, rather than your face being covered, breaking stuff down. That's just really how it should be, because then you go, wow. something really is, and you have to listen to people. And it's just like one of our friends. He's the chaplain of a police department, and another police department shot his son, who shouldn't have shot his son, and he's black. And he's a chaplain of another police department, still to this day. And there are circumstances, yes, that sometimes do happen, especially at night when it is dark. You don't know what's in this hand and you don't know what's in this hand, and you have to think like that. Things could have gone differently, but I wasn't there. I wasn't in the moment, So you just have to listen. Are there good cops? Yes. Are there some bad apples? Yes. I have family members that are in my husband's father was a San Bernardino sheriff for years. He said, "Yep, we know who the rowdy one is," you know. And then, but it's not all like that. But sadly, once again, we live in a political society, and it does not matter if you have 1,000 great and you have one bad apple. That's all they're going to focus on, especially going through to November. That's all they care about. So you just got to stand up for what is right, but you also have to condemn if need be.
Yeah, and
If
that's
need be, you have to.
yeah, and that's why I put it out there. A lot of the stuff that goes on, the craziness. A lot of people are like, "Well, why don't you put out positive?" And it's like, well, look, the point is to expose what it is. I mean,
Right.
I'll go to them. They see me there. That's why they don't. They know I'll go and talk to them and visit. And
Right.
how do we move forward? Is my point. And it's like I'm trying to expose what the people that are hijacking it are using that as their agenda for their own.
Everyone, when it comes to politicians, they want to legislate, they want to make a law to force force things to get better. How do we move forward? What's the solution? That's the thing. Oh, the law is to do this. If you break this law, you're going to go to jail. No, what's the solution? That's the question that's not being asked. What is the local solution? Then you get both sides to come together and say, okay, this is the solution. This is what needs to be done. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. But they think that solutions come in the form of legislation all the time, when it doesn't have to be like that, where you have to do this and we have to do that. Especially when we have and this is another problem I have. It's like right now we have governors making decisions that are not physicians on COVID. We have politicians making decisions that are not on the front lines, have never been trained, never been put in that position. So, and it's just like with our healthcare. We have politicians making decisions on healthcare, and they've never worked in the industry, and they've never worked on a patient before. They have no idea how it works and coding works. We have to get people that are in the industry that can come together and make the solutions, not have the politicians that are now make our banking decisions, where we can go, when we can eat, what type of healthcare we can have, what type of police force we can have. Are they going to take the money away? Are they not going to take the money away? Our politicians are experts at everything, and they know nothing.
Yeah,
So the solution is, let's get the experts together.
yes, and that's one thing Trump does that I do like, that he always has a good team of people
Right.
that are going to come together and give him the information to make a decision on it.
Right. And every city is different. Dallas is going to be different than Frisco. My city is going to be different from your city. Why not get out in the streets and ask the neighbors? Why not ask people? We have census people knocking on doors. Ask them, hey, can you fill this out and let us know? They may not want to give their name. That's fine. But there are ways to come up with solutions.
No, I agree 100%. And I feel like too, back on the pivotal point of this, George Floyd, I felt like for the first time, most people agreed, yeah, that was wrong.
Absolutely.
We were coming together, I felt, because at that point, when it first started, before it became violent, you had major people coming together like, all right, we see this is wrong. Let's work to fix it. And I felt before it went bad, I was like, we're coming together finally. We're turning a corner.
We were unified, and that was a problem.
Yeah, that's when you see this come in all of a sudden.
That was the problem. We were unified.
Yeah.
And they even admitted it. I mean, it's nothing, it's sad. I mean, even CNN said, that's the problem. We all were in agreement. Everyone was unified, and there was too much unification going on there, and there cannot be unity.
That's right, because you can divide and conquer.
Cannot have, especially going up to an election. People have to realize everything you see right now, Every move, every story, every politician, every news outlet, everything you see has an agenda leading up to the election. Education agenda, COVID agenda, lockdown agenda, what you see on radio agenda, no mask commercials for 3 weeks, no talk of COVID, nada, nothing. You won't see anything. And then all of a sudden, when they need to bring it back into the forefront of what's going on, the mask commercials are back, the COVID numbers are back, the doctors are back. Everything is pre-planned on what's going to lead up to November 4th, 3rd. Sadly, that's just what it is right now. We live in an agenda-ridden world. And look what happened in Tennessee. Nashville, leaked emails came out yesterday. COVID is almost non-existent. And they said, how are we going to keep this from the public?
Imagine that.
They said that in an email. How are we going to prevent? How are we going to keep this information from going public that is almost non-existent here?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's been trending downwards pretty good. I mean,
yeah, 6%. I mean, the problem is the way they're contact tracing that. I don't like the way they're contact tracing. And there's been a lot of issues in Texas with people leaving, never getting tested, and then getting a call back saying, hey, you're positive. Sorry, I never got tested. Oh,
yeah,
you were on the list.
that happened in right here recently.
Right.
In Charlotte, they had to apologize because I guess they notified like 6,000. I could be wrong, but like 6,000 people that they had it, and they're like, I don't have. What are you talking about? So
I know it's just crazy. Sadly, it's agenda driven, and that is just what, sadly, the world we live in today. And I hope it never goes away, but I'm not really sure that it really ever will. But if you turn off the news, you turn off the radio, you get off social media, and you walk outside, it's interesting how everyone gets along.
isn't it?
Amazing?
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that I talk to, like, because I'll go everywhere, because as a sheriff, or I think it's good practice to go to the other side, go to the meetings. What do really people want? You always have a seat at the table, a round table. We're all equal talking, and when you do that, you find you have more in common than you think with a lot of people. And it's interesting that you would think, if you listen to the news or everything else, that we're enemies when we're not. Do we have different philosophies or way we want to handle situations? Yes. However, I think the end result is still the same. You know what I mean? The common person.
I have friends that work at CNN, and a lot of the stuff, they're like, we get paid to read the teleprompter. Exact words.
Hey, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, that's exactly what I was told. I was told that right to my face. I'm like, well, at least you're honest. Yeah. I mean, just at least you're honest about it, but that's just kind of like how it is.
Well, we've been talking for over an hour, and as much as I enjoy our conversations, I could do this forever, but I figured, we both have lives and things we need to do. It's getting late. So is there anything you'd like to say to kind of end it off? I would like to just say, thank you again for coming on, taking the time to come here, great stuff. I could talk politics forever. I know you can, so, but I appreciate you coming on.
The best thing that we can do right now is, if you have mailed in your ballot, like the president said, if you've mailed in your ballot and you didn't, because they're sending out 80 millions, on the day that you go to vote, you can go to the voting booth. And even if you mailed in your ballot, I'm not saying to vote twice. The reason for this is to make sure that your vote was counted. Because if you go there to vote and they say you can't vote, your vote's been counted, then that means you've been coded. Make sure people are registered to vote. Get involved locally. Get involved locally with what's going on. That doesn't mean you have to just go to every single meeting. Get your family involved. Make sure everyone is registered to vote. Start car rallies. Know who your mayor is. Know who's on the ballot. I mean, it can be frustrating going, oh, how am I going to find this? It's on the internet. Make sure you know who your mayor is. Make sure who's on the ballot. And if there's an event in your town, go meet people, meet like-minded people. That's always nice to do. And then October 8th through 11th, if you're in Miami, we're going to be at the Trump Doral. There's going to be Dinesh D'Souza, Don Jr., Matt Gaetz. All of us are going to be there. I'll be on a panel doing social media with Jack Pobasek and my buddy from CNN. another one actually from CNN is going to be on there. But that's my main thing. The main thing is just don't let anyone silence your voice. Don't say anything stupid to get kicked off of social media. Don't rage tweet. Be like me, have some restraint. But don't let anyone silence you. Get out there and vote on November 3rd. And politics gets too much, just shut it down. Just absolutely shut it down. But right now we need voices. We just need voices.
I agree, and it's sad that people have to be in fear just to express their own opinion. Uh,
Right.
and it's just sad, and I'm glad you at least fight the good fight. I know you're mainly on the Twitter sphere, but I'm just thankful you fight the good fight.
Yeah, and remember this: in a world full of hate, be the light. Got to.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much, and you're welcome anytime. And thanks. And I'm going to send this out, and I appreciate you coming. And I hope you have a
Hey,
good night.
anytime I could talk for hours.
All right,
Oh, y'all have a good night too.
oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks for watching, and thanks for coming out. So thank you.
All right.